Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome into Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Hope everybody had a fantastic holiday weekend. Hopefully you stayed safe, had a couple drinks if that's your thing, some hot dogs, some burgers, whatever you wanted to get into. Hopefully you had a good old time. Had a good time with the family myself, so glad everybody is hopefully safe and sound. And hey, it's Monday, which means we're that much closer to Bears football. 2 weeks from today, rookies will have already reported. The day after that, veterans will report, and then practices will get going. So in about 2.5 weeks, training camp is full-fledged. Cullen, we have almost made it. Let us know where you guys are tuning in from. Cullen, did you have a good holiday?
Had a great holiday, man. Chilled out with the family, ate some good burgers, had some glizzies, and this brings me to a question. Answer this down below, too, because the GOAT returned this past weekend, Harry. Joey Chestnut, 70 dogs in 10 minutes. Like it was nothing. How many dogs could you eat in 10 minutes?
That's a Tuesday afternoon for Joey.
Easy.
We were kind of debating this. I think next year we should do this. I know it's kind of gross, but I think – and most people are off the 4th, but I think we should film something the 3rd and publish it on Chat Sports, or maybe we just do a Bears Now version. I don't know, but I think, and I've been working on eating a lot better. Been working out recently, so this probably isn't great to say, but I do think I could take down double digits of the standard Nathan's hot dogs. I'd have to see them, I guess. I don't know how big they are, but. I think I could get to 10. It would be a challenge, though. I think it. I think the first 4 or 5, you'd be like, "Oh, this is easy." Then you're like 7, you're like, "Oh man," and then it's a grind to get to 10. But what did Smitty say? Didn't he say he could take down 20?
I think I can too.
Okay.
I think I actually could. If you gave me enough time to prepare, I think I could take down.
But see, I think the preparation part is misleading because Coop was like, I guess if I didn't eat for 2 days, that's actually the opposite of what you want to do.
You don't want to do that
because then your stomach shrinks a little bit. So really, what you want to do is over a period of time, you expand your stomach, and then the day of. You don't necessarily eat, but you don't want to fast for 2 days and then try to rip 50 dogs. So I don't know. I'll set my over under at. I'd set it at 9.5. Could I get to double digits? I think so. I think it's one of those that it's easy for us to be like, we could take down 15, 20. I know you're saying you could. So you think you could do 20?
I think if you gave me we're doing say. You told me
June 1st, prepare for July 4th.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing it.
We're doing this next year.
I'm doing it.
This is absolutely going to happen.
I'll say, if anyone's putting money on anybody in the office, I'm a smart bet. Because I'm going to be one of them. I do think Smitty, because he was talking a big game, so you'd have to put him up there.
I can take down food. I mean, as a kid, at a pizza buffet place, now these aren't New York slices, but casual slices. I could rip 20 slices of pizza, as a high schooler. So I don't know. Maybe I'm underselling myself. It's certainly possible. The thought of ripping that many dogs in 10 minutes is not very appealing, but
it's not.
I think if I absolutely had to do it, I guess I could.
If you told me
out.
The winner of next year's hot dog eating contest got an extra day of PTO, you might as well not show up. You might as well see who comes in second place. I'm telling you that right now.
We're playing for second.
I am what they call a professional big back, man. I'm ready to eat. I'm telling you, man.
I love it. You guys let us know how many dogs in 10 minutes.
I would be sick the next day. They're 100%, but it would be worth it.
That's what I'm always amazed at. How do they get 40 dogs in and they just don't puke? I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like Joey Chestnut committed where he I think he reconstructed the teeth in his mouth to
Well, and there's this sounds gross, but there's literal techniques. He does 2 dogs at once. He dunks the buns and the water.
See, that's another thing too. You soak the buns in water that.
See, I just don't know if I could. That's how you do it. I don't know if I think I'd be grossed out by that. I think that would bother me taking that down. So. I don't know. But I do think we should do it next year, though. Just order 100 dogs from the local. I don't even know where you can get cheap hot dogs, or maybe we just make them ourselves. I don't know. and then we let it rip.
Just get them Nathan's hot dogs, man. Just put on the old
Hey,
breakfast.
Nathan's, if you're watching,
There we go. Sponsor
us. Provide. We'll
We'll
do our own little contest. Okay, we got a couple super chats rolling in. Appreciate the 5. Haven't seen this account in a while. Harrison Graham's beard is back. If the Bears lose Week 18 and the draft order was different, what do you think they would have done in round 1? I have to go back and look. They would have had either the 7th or the 8th pick. Let me just pull up the old draft 2025.
Because I think the highest they could have gotten was like 7th or 8th.
Heading into Week 18, it was anywhere from 7 to 13, I believe, and they ended up 10. Let's see. So the first 6 picks, because they could not have gotten to 6, were Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, Mason Graham, Ashton Genty. I think the bigger question is like, do they try to leapfrog Vegas for Genty? Like,
Yes.
would they have tried to trade to 5 because
Yep.
it would have cost less to go from 7 or 8 to 5 than from 10 to 5? I think that's the bigger question. If they stay at 7, I'm not sure anything changes. I mean, I guess because I don't think I get the feeling they were never taking Mimbu, who went 7.
Right.
Because I think they wanted to keep Darnell Wright at right tackle. Mimbu's viewed much more as a right or left. If anything, they might have taken Kelvin Banks, which I would not have loved. So I'm not sure that much changes. I mean, unless I think the only thing that could have potentially changed is they might have been willing to trade up, whereas the cost from 10 may have been too steep.
Right.
So other than that, like, I think there's a world if they pick at 8, they might just take Loveland at 8. Like that might have been the case. So because I think a lot of the guys they would have liked, like Will Campbell, Mason Graham, certainly like Abdul Carter, they would have still been gone. So Genty was the one guy that they were linked to a lot. Maybe they trade from 7 or 8 to 5. It doesn't cost as much as it would have from 10 to 5, but it's hard to say. Sam, what is your perfect cookout meal? 1 drink, 1 entree, 2 sides, 1 dessert. I think it depends. I'll go with my favorite meat to smoke is I like doing a pulled pork. So I would say that. I also can make a good smoked mac and cheese.
Ooh.
I've done that several times now. For a second side, depends if I'm trying to. I mean, at this point, we're not trying to convince people it's a healthy meal.
No.
So I might as well lean into maybe like a loaded baked potato or something like that. That'd probably be a play. That'd certainly be an option. Dessert. Not a huge dessert guy, to be honest. Like I like milkshakes for dessert, so
Okay.
I guess that's fine. 1 drink depends time of year. Probably just like if it's like dead hot in the summer, maybe I go with like some kind of seltzer or something. But if it's like not too crazy, just like some kind of beer, just like I don't know, like a Dos Equis or something. Like keep it simple.
Yeah.
Something like that. If it's 100 out, I might go with the seltzer. A little more hydration ish compared to like a heavy beer or something like that. But
Yeah.
What's the Cullen perfect cookout?
So again, if it was 4th of July, like you kind of have to have like hot dogs on 4th
It's 4th of July. I'd probably say burgers and hot dogs.
Right.
Combination of that.
I still think I would go burger as my entree.
Same.
So that would probably be like my number 1 drink. I'd probably, like you said, like a lime beer, like a Dos Equis, or maybe like a Bud Light Lime or something like that.
Yeah.
Dessert, probably just ice cream, because when it's hot and you're cooking out, like you don't want to really like. I'm not trying to eat like a pie or.
Well,
like
yeah.
a
If I've
cake
already
or
had
anything.
that much meat, I don't want cake. I don't want like. And that's why even milkshake, like compared to just like ice cream, like I don't want to feel like I'm eating more, even though you kind of are.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm drinking the milkshake, I'm like, oh, this is just this is a drink.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the path I like to go down.
Yeah, and then probably for 2 sides. I mean, not to sound. I mean, I'll go here. I'll throw a little bit. I'll throw sweet potato fries.
Okay.
I think those are underrated.
Good.
And then just like as another side, just to be somewhat healthy, like steamed or grilled veggies. Like
yeah,
really
can't
just,
go wrong with that.
Yeah,
Can't
so
go
that's
wrong
what I'd
with
probably
that
do.
play.
Maybe some like peppers or something.
Yeah. My father-in-law just got a black top grill. He's like a grill. Like he's got a smoker. He's got a pellet. He's got like 4 different ones, and he got a blacktop one.
Yeah.
And those things are pretty sweet. I liked it that much. I might get one myself. They're pretty cool. But,
we got one.
We made fajitas on them one night this weekend, and they were gas. And it takes like 10 minutes. Like it just fucking hums.
Yeah. So, we got one for my stepdad. What was it? Last year for his birthday. And I mean, he's never spent more time outside.
They're just so easy. It's propane.
Yep.
Like, you can do everything on there. Like
You
it's awesome. But all right, get back to talking some football here. A lot of offensive line talk today. PFF released their O-line rankings. Kind of want to just talk about the Bears' offensive line as well. So, little teaser: PFF has the Bears with the top 5 offensive line. Do you agree? Yes or no? Do the Bears, I should say, have a top 5 unit this year? I'm optimistic about this group, Colin, but maybe this is just like the ghost of Bears O-line past haunting me. But like if you told me today they'll have the 10th best unit, I'd probably sign up for it because I'm so used to this being a bad unit. Mm-hmm. But like on paper, I mean, Thuney, top 3 guard in the league. Dalman, top 8 center in the league. Darnell Wright, ascending tackle. Jackson's a wild card. If he gets back to how he was in Detroit, he's one of the better guards. And then obviously you have some question at left tackle, but if you're just serviceable there, like I can get the vision. I think top 5 is a little rich for me. I could see top 10. Like if they're like, oh, it's going to be the 8th best offensive line, I'd be like, yeah, like you've got a big time player in Thuney, a few other really good players, then some question marks, but even talent at those questions. So I don't know. 4 feels high. I don't know if I could make that statement of this being a top 5 unit. I'm hopeful. That'd be great, but I don't know if I could go that far.
Yeah, this is something where, like, if you're saying top 5, like, by season's end, I could potentially get behind it.
They haven't played together yet. Yeah, like, it's going to take some time.
A lot of moving parts. I mean, obviously, new starting left guard, center, right guard. And then, again, you mentioned it, like, left tackle, it's not even determined who's going to be the starter yet.
And even if it is Braxton Jones, he's missed the entire offseason.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're banking on a lot of, things to go right for it to be a top 5 unit. And, again, there's a lot of great offensive lines in the NFL. For me, I agree. It's a little too rich for my blood.
I do think it'll be a good group.
Right.
I just, to go from one of the worst to top 5, I mean, I know they've invested, but I think I'm just trying to temper expectations there because I just haven't seen good offensive line play in Chicago hardly at all. I do expect good offensive line play, but listen, let's start with like top 10, top 12, and then go from there.
You don't expect one of these offensive linemen to be looking at Caleb as he's getting sacked during a pass blocking rep?
I will say this. I don't expect Nate Davis out there among this group, but that's a low bar. Cornelius with the 10. Appreciate you, brother. I thought this was an interesting quote from Matt Judon, basically responding to the people who said he had a down season. He said he dropped back in coverage in 60% of his snaps. I saw him make a loose kind of comment on that. I'd have to, without watching every one of his snaps, I'd have to go look at that. That feels like a high number. Something tells me, Colin, he did not drop back on 3 out of 5 plays, considering at this point he's really kind of just a pass rush specialist. Yeah. So now, could they have dropped him back more than he wanted, more than was necessary? Certainly, but 60%, like, I would say not a single defensive lineman in the league dropped back that much. So, and I know he played in that 3-4 Atlanta scheme, and sometimes edge rushers have to drop back. But 60%, if that's true, Raheem Morris should have been fired because that's an outrageous number. But listen, he had 5.5 sacks, and if his claim is true, then okay. Like if he just played downhill all year, maybe he would have had 9 or 10 sacks. But he also chose to go to Atlanta. The Patriots kind of gave him a choice because the Bears offered a third and the Falcons offered a third, and he wanted to go to the Falcons. So we'll see what happens. We're going to talk a little Matt Judon today, actually. But, I mean, I loved him in New England a few years ago. I thought he was one of the best pass rushers in the league. Can he get back to being 80% of that? 2 years ago he got hurt. Last year he, wasn't that productive. He was just okay. So we'll see.
According to PFF, just did a quick Google search here, he had 655 total snaps last year. 87 of those were registered as in coverage. So
that's
don't think it's quite 60. I mean, maybe 60 the
if
actual
you round
number.
up to 87 out of what?
It was 87 out of 655.
Okay, let's say it was 100 out of 675. Divide, or you could just do the math real quick. I think I want to say it's like 15%.
About 13.2.
Yeah, I mean, now maybe it wasn't, there might have been some snaps that PFF couldn't determine that it was more of like a read and react type of deal where he's not just pinning his ears back. I could buy that. I mean, guys get misused all the time, but I don't think he dropped back 300 times last year. So we'll see what happens, man. If you sign Matt Judon for $4 or $5 million, I certainly wouldn't be opposed to that. There are a couple pass rushers I like more on the market, but I do think they need to add to that position. All right, we got a lot to get to, so we're about to do so. Hit that like button if you love the Bears, love this channel. We would greatly appreciate it. Get more Bears fans in here. All I got to do is hit that thumbs up icon, because here's what we got coming up here on a busy Bears Monday. And NFL Insider links 3 free agents to Chicago. You guys just mentioned one of them in Matt Judon. We will take your questions, #Bears or Super Chat. Go ahead and load those into the live chat. That way producer Colin can start, kind of compiling those, and we'll get into our mailbag after this first segment. #Bears or Super Chat to get on the show. And did the Bears fix their biggest issue this offseason? All that and more straight ahead here on Chicago Bears Now. I'm Harrison Graham. Here's what we got coming up on Chicago Bears Now. Albert Breer, a top NFL insider with Sports Illustrated, makes the rounds on different shows. He has linked 3 free agents to Chicago in a recent Q&A article that he did. He got a Bears question and mentioned 3 players in particular. And I do want to mention, Breer, ever since Ryan Poles has been the Bears general manager, has had a lot of scoops. So he's tapped into the Bears organization. And this is the question he got. He does these weekly Q&A articles. And a Bears fan asked him, quote, will the Bears look to add a running back or an edge position before the season starts, or are they happy with what they have? Here is how Breer answered that question. He says, I think it's all relative to what's out there. So they'll get a look at DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson at running back, talking about in training camp, and Montez Sweat and Dayo Odeyingbo on the edges when the pads go on, and then maybe consider some guys such as Jamaal Williams at running back, or Za'Darius Smith or Matt Judon as edge rushers. Guys we have certainly talked about on the show, especially Za'Darius Smith. Not as much time on Jamaal Williams, but we will kind of hit all 3 of these players and why they could be on the Bears' radar, because even though this wasn't like a reporting article from Breer, he has conversations with people inside the Bears building. That's pretty well documented, so I don't think he mentioned those guys by accident. Before we do so, though, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to the channel. If the Bears make a big signing, we're going to break it down. Could even go live, so hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications so you never miss out. Our goal is to hit 125,000 subs by the first preseason game. Let's make it happen. We're just over 700 away. Okay, let's talk a little Jamaal Williams, because out of these 3 players, we have not talked about him nearly as much as the others. And what is the connection here? Well, Jamaal Williams had the best year of his career under Ben Johnson in 2022 in the Lions offense. That was the first year Ben Johnson was the full-time offensive coordinator in Detroit, and Williams had the best year of his career. 17 touchdowns. Obviously has never been a guy that has a ton of wiggle or home run hitting ability, but as we've talked about here on this show, you've kind of already got your home run hitter in DeAndre Swift. The question is, do you have a reliable thumper to pair with him? Someone between the tackles that you feel good about. Certainly if you had this version of Jamaal Williams in 2022, you'd feel great about that. And that would be kind of an obvious signing. Like, go get him, knows the offense, fits well with DeAndre Swift. The problem is the past 2 years since he's been in New Orleans, I don't know if it's a scheme issue or if he's just over the hill now, just ineffective, right? Just over 3 yards per carry. He's battled some minor injuries as well. Basically phased out there, and they gave him opportunities. I think it's fair to question, like, is he just done? Is he cooked? And we see this all the time with NFL running backs, especially these guys that, they're good players, they have their moments, and then all of a sudden it's like, whatever happened to that guy? Oh, he's just not good anymore. It's fair to question if Jamaal Williams has reached that point in his career. There's a reason he is unsigned after all. And I think with Jamaal Williams or Deontay Foreman or any other free agent running back that is out there, the question you have to ask yourself if you're the Bears is this. Do we believe this player, Jamaal Williams, is an upgrade over Roschon Johnson and Kyle Monangai? If the answer is yes, I would sign them. If the answer is no, you don't sign them, because it's not like Roschon Johnson and Kyle Monangai are like these super proven players at this point in their career, obviously Monangai being a rookie. I'm not that interested. I get that a few years ago Williams was awesome under Ben Johnson and certainly was a guy that found the end zone a lot, but he just has not looked good the last couple of years. He has not been that effective. Even in a short yardage role for New Orleans, only 2 touchdowns. So I'm probably passing here. Listen, if it's like a vet minimum camp, come battle for a roster spot type of deal, that's never a bad type of contract. But I would rather be patient at the running back spot and see if an intriguing guy gets cut by another team or see if a trade option becomes available, because I just don't think Jamaal Williams is moving the meter, and I'd rather see what Monangai has, if I'm being completely honest. Okay, a couple of edges now. We'll start with Matt Judon, who, again, the connection there is pretty clear, and we will discuss that here in a moment. But first, we have an awesome deal for you guys. These short sleeve hoodies, which are great this time of year, on sale. They were $55. Now they're $33. Quick math, that's about 40% off. Get one today at chatsports.com/Bears hoodie. You got the short sleeve hoodie going on right there. Good looking as well. You got the big Bears in Chicago and orange lettering, the Bear logo as well. I'm going to get one of these myself, I think. Chatsports.com/Bears hoodie. 40% off, limited time only. Take advantage of this deal. The link is in the comments and description of this video. Click and shop today and take advantage. Okay, so what's the connection with Matt Judon and the Bears? Well, 12 months ago, they tried to trade for him, or I guess 10, 11 months now. It was at the end of training camp. The Bears offered a third-round pick for Judon. So did Atlanta. And if I remember correctly, the Patriots basically gave Judon the choice. They were like, we feel like those picks are going to be in similar range. You pick. He wanted to go to Atlanta. I think that was a good thing for the Bears and a bad thing for Matt Judon, if I'm being completely honest. He was not that effective with the Falcons last year. 5.5 sacks, not nothing, but certainly not the double-digit sack guy he had been in previous years in New England. Obviously, that turned out to be a win for the Bears. Why? They didn't give up a third-round pick, and 2, they weren't good last year anyway. I don't think Matt Judon would have been the difference in the Bears winning 5 versus 10 games last year. But what now? Like, he's a free agent now. Do you revisit that? Can you get him at a super cheap cost? I think that's certainly a possibility. Well, first question you have to ask is, does he fit in with Dennis Allen and what Dennis Allen wants? He's certainly heavy enough. He usually plays about 270. He has almost 34-inch arms. So despite playing almost exclusively in 3-4 schemes in his career, I do think he fits most of the measurables Dennis Allen looks for. Now, he also had a loose quote recently where he was like, yeah, I had to drop back like 60% of the time in Atlanta. That's a completely misleading number by Matt Judon, but could he have been typecasted wrong there? Could they have used him improperly? Certainly possible. To me, at this point in his career, Matt Judon needs to play downhill and pin his ears back as a pass rusher. He's not going to be great against the run. You don't want to drop him into coverage. And playing at a 4-3, he's not really going to have to drop into coverage. Now, Dennis Allen does value guys who can stop the run, and that's never really been his thing. If he can be serviceable there, come here, be your third edge rusher after Montez, Sweat, and Dayo Odeyingbo, $3, $4, $5 million bucks. There's guys I like more, but you could certainly convince me of that. Someone I do like more is Za'Darius Smith. I think he's a more complete player. I think he's a more productive player at this point in his career. And I think the difference there, too, is regardless of where he's played, he's been productive. Whereas Judon, you get him out of New England last year, he just doesn't look like the same guy for whatever reason. What's the connection here? Well, Detroit traded for him at the deadline last year, and which means Ben Johnson's been around him. Now, Ben Johnson was the offensive coordinator. It's not like he was heavily involved with the whole 53-man roster, but clearly would have some familiarity with him, was around him for a couple of months last year. Also, if you want to kind of take a deeper connection, Za'Darius Smith has played for all 3 other NFC North teams, so the Bears have seen him up close for years now. He played with the Packers for a long time, played with Minnesota briefly, and obviously Detroit briefly last year as well. And he's still productive. 9 sacks. He's average to above average against the run. Again, not great, but he's better than Matt Judon has been historically in his career. I think he's a clear best option of these three players Albert Breer has mentioned. Jamaal Williams, Matt Judon, Za'Darius Smith. I think Smith is a tier above the other two guys we're talking about. I think, again, Jamaal Williams is probably cooked. In a short yardage only role, he could be okay, but to me, that's Roschon Johnson, so what's the point? And Matt Judon, while I still think there could be something there, I am pretty confident that there is something there with Za'Darius Smith. Now, he might cost a little bit more, so all these different factors play a role, but if you're asking me in a vacuum, who would I want to sign out of these three players? It's pretty easily Za'Darius Smith. Now, you guys let me know who you would like to sign out of these three guys. Jamaal Williams, Matt Judon, or Za'Darius Smith. Type JW for Jamaal, MJ for Matt Judon, or ZS for Za'Darius Smith. Again, I'm going to go with Za'Darius Smith. All right, my name is Harrison Graham. Appreciate everybody for tuning into the show. Again, if the Bears make a notable signing, really any signing, especially this time of year, we're going to have a video breaking it down, so hit that subscribe button, and we'll have you covered. All righty, we'll get to our next segment shortly here, which is going to be a mailbag. So load up your questions, hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get your questions answered on the show. If you Super Chat, you can skip the line. You will go to the top of the mailbag. But this time of year, especially with not as big an audience as during football season, hashtag Bears, pretty good chance we get on the show. So
very good chance. Harry, you need to check your Venmo, sir.
Oh.
We got I think a familiar face send you something.
Let's see.
Or at least that's what he said in the chat, so.
Okay. Joe Keel says, got my stuff, thank you. Thelma 20 there. Shout out to Joe Keel. Venmo was not necessary to let us know you got your stuff in the mail, but we appreciate it, Joe. You've been a strong supporter of this show over the last few months, so hope you're having a fantastic summer, Joe, and we appreciate your support, man. So for anyone who wants to ever donate to the show, you can certainly do that via Super Chat or Venmo, Cash App, at HGrahamNFL. Those are the places to do so. Helps us grow, helps this channel and company grow. We just hired we got a
guy in the building right here.
One of our newest employees. First day on the job. Everybody give it up.
Come on, get in screen, brother. Get your face on screen
here.
Man.
Introduce yourself.
How we doing, Bears fans? Casey Foreman here, new producer, learning from the guy Cullen right here. I'm just taking notes. Having fun like we always do here at Chat Sports.
Exactly. Keeping it loose. Give Casey a shout-out in the chat. That's Casey with the C. Shout out the man in the chat.
Yes, sir.
Day one at the JOB. So, Cullen's helping him get his feet wet on his first live show. So, yeah, again, your guys' support watching us. If you feel inclined to donate, it all helps. So we greatly, greatly appreciate it. And see a few questions coming in here, Colin, so we can
we're definitely looking good.
Shortly here. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat, and we'll get rolling. Guy, just keep thinking, Colin. In 2.5 weeks, we will have practice to talk about.
I know.
Real football things.
Real tangible Bears football that we can discuss.
We are so, so close to being back.
Yeah.
Oh, the Darren Waller trade is official.
Shout out to Ron saying, welcome, Casey. By the way, I don't know whose idea it was to let me train anybody, but Casey, you're going to have to get retrained here in a second. Shout out to Casey, man.
Don't discredit yourself, Colin. You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing.
Yeah, sometimes. There we go. We got a super chat from Dennis. We'll actually pop this on screen since this one's not really a question. Shout out to you, Dennis.
Dennis, the Chicago kid.
He says, me and my girlfriend are going to the opener versus the Vikings, LFG. It's huge, man.
That's going to be a fun game, man. That is one of those games I'm going to be antsy all day because, and I've talked to our Vikings host, Patrick Seatman, about this, the loser of that game, the narratives coming out of it are going to be palpable because it's a primetime game. A lot of parallels between the teams, two good rosters, two young quarterbacks. But if J.J. McCarthy in his first start comes to Chicago, beats the Bears, and outplays Caleb Williams, it is going to be a rough scene. it is going to be a rough scene. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but that is going to be a fun way to cap week 1, or it's going to be a devastating way if it doesn't go our way. But appreciate the super chat, Dennis. And
we can save Cornelius's for the mailbag.
Yeah, Cornelius, that's a good call there. We'll get that thought on the mailbag. So Cameron Crispin with the 50.
That's definitely getting on the mailbag.
Yeah, we'll actually we'll get to that early and often here. We got to let those load in, but all right, appreciate you guys. Mailbag coming up. #Bears or super chat to get your questions answered on the show. So lock those in, and we'll get as many answered as possible. It's time for a Chicago Bears mailbag here on Bears Now by Chat Sports. My name is Harrison Graham. We'll get to your questions in a few minutes. I did want to hit a quick story off the top, so go ahead and load those in. #Bears in the live chat. PFF, the day we're filming this, which is Monday, so if you're watching this later in the week, released their top offensive lines. I think they actually ranked all 32. And they had the Bears 4th best in the NFL. And best in the NFC North. You look at the rest of the division, Vikings at 7, Detroit at 13. I think the Ragnow retirement plummets them a little bit. And then Green Bay sitting there at 14. So all 4 in the top half of the league. And it really just got me thinking, like, I do think this Bears offensive line will be good, but top 5, and maybe I just got, bad memories of the last several years of this offensive line just not being up to snuff, but there's still a question at left tackle. Is Jonah Jackson going to bounce back? So I don't think this is just some undeniable top 3, top 5 unit in the league. I think the potential is there to be top 5, but there are still questions. Who's going to be the left tackle, and how quickly does the unit gel? Because that's even something Ben Johnson said. Like, it takes time for those 5 to build cohesion. Look at the best O-lines in the league. Philly, and before the Ragnow exit, Detroit. Those units were there for years building together. There might be one position that gets swapped out, like Mekhi Becton last year filled in at right guard for Philly and fit in pretty well. But if that's your 5th offensive lineman, like it's pretty easy to fit in when you're playing with Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata and all those guys. So while I'm optimistic, if you told me today, hey, this is guaranteed to be a top 10 O-line, sign me up. 4th, that feels like a bit of a stretch. I'd love to see it happen, but I'm not quite there. Do the Bears have a top 5 offensive line in the NFL? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I do want to make it clear, I think this unit will be good. I just think it might take a little bit of time, so give us your thoughts on top 5 or not. All right, time for your questions now. Cameron Crispin with the $50 super chat. Get the Camerons going in the live chat. What a beast. He goes, do you think the Bears will draft a running back next year? If so, do you think that Jeremiah Love should come to Chicago from Notre Dame? If you see the way too early 2026 mock drafts that get circulated, that is a very common pick. Jeremiah Love to Chicago. Why? Because we know that they were interested in Ashton Jeanty this year. He profiles as the best running back in college football heading into this season. We'll see if that ends up playing out. You think of recent years, it actually has not worked out that way for certain guys. I remember several years back, Chuba Hubbard was like, this guy is a lock first rounder. Didn't have a great senior year, ends up plummeting. Now he's had a nice career with Carolina. But that does happen with running backs sometimes, so we'll see how it goes this year. But if he has a big season and the Bears drafted him, I'd be pretty happy with it. I think Jeremiah Love is the full package, 3 down back and run, catch the ball. Excited to see what he does at Notre Dame this year. Cornelius with the 5, appreciate it. He says, Yannick Ngakoue, Darrell Taylor, can we pretty much bank Ryan Poles on signing an edge rusher? Yeah, I mean, he's been a guy that adds during training camp at a variety of positions. You think about his first year. He signed Riley Reif like 2 weeks before the season. To hold down the right tackle spot, which kind of worked, kind of didn't. He signed Ngakoue the next year. He's technically he actually traded for Darrell Taylor last year. It was a 6th-round pick, but do not be surprised if he adds a veteran or two between now and week 1, whether it's at running back, at edge, perhaps at another position like safety. I've maintained I think you need another pass rusher coming off the edge in this rotation, especially if Odeyingbo is going to kick inside on certain downs like has been reported. So do you trust Austin Booker? Do you trust Dominique Robinson or Daniel Hardy? I would say it would be hard to make that projection for your number 3 edge rusher. If one of those guys is your 4th, okay, I can be on board with that. But whether it's Za'Darius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, a trade that's out there that we haven't foreseen, I'd like to get a rotation edge rusher in there that can get after the quarterback. Have you guys subscribed to the channel? If you have, type FGB down in the comments. I want to know who the die-hard Bears fans are and the loyal Bears Now subscribers are. If you type FGB, I know you're a subscriber. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Hunter Young, do you think Caleb will take less money like Tom Brady? We're already talking Caleb Williams' second contract. If he's good enough where he's going to get a big contract, honestly, probably not, especially not on his first big contract. Now, maybe in his 30s or something, and this is obviously the dream scenario where he's awesome and he's here for 15 years, but Brady's kind of an outlier. First of all, it's kind of a different time. The money isn't what it is now. He was making so much off the field. You never know what a player might do, but these agents don't like taking discounts, and we know that Caleb and his camp, they're pretty business savvy. So if he's in a position to cash in, I wouldn't expect a discount. Now, maybe if him and the Bears work together and they can get him a big signing bonus up front, kind of Philadelphia style, to keep those cap hits down, it's a win-win. Yeah, like something like that. Players love more money up front. Why? Because you can invest it, and everyone will tell you in the business world, more money today, like the more you can get right now, that's the route you want to go. So let's just get to a point where we want to pay a quarterback a second contract for once, because that never happens in Chicago. I think there's a good chance it'll happen, but we still got a long way here. All right, DC Viper, appreciate it. Do you think Case Keenum will be the number 2 behind Caleb, and what is Tyson's future in Chicago? Does he get re-signed? I would say this. If Case Keenum wins the backup job and is the true number 2 behind Caleb this year, that would lead one to believe that Tyson's probably gone after this year. If Bagent wins the backup for a 3rd straight year, if he's the number 2 and Keenum's the 3, and by the way, I don't want to be clear. I think both are on the 53. I think they're going to carry 3 this year. I think then Bagent could be a guy you keep long-term because he's still young. There's talent there. I have no idea what his market would be. I think there'd be some intrigue, at least as a notably paid backup, maybe $5-7 million somewhere. I don't think there would be a starting opportunity for him on the open market. But if Case Keenum beats him out and is the true backup all year, that probably means Bagent goes elsewhere. I would just guess he, starting next year, would want a fresh start with a different team. But never know how it'll play out. I like Bagent. I think he can be a good backup in this league for a while, can be a spot starter. I'm not convinced he could be a full-time starter, but I think there is some intrigue there. Did go 2-2 as a fill-in starter as an undrafted rookie when Justin Fields missed a month a couple of years ago. Okay, predict the 2025 NFC North standings from 1 to 4. You don't have to throw records in there or anything, but who's going to finish 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th? Hopefully the Bears are not bringing up the rear. All right, we got a few more here. Stefan says, I think that the Saints are going to trade a lot of their players at the deadline, and maybe the Bears try to trade for Kamara. I actually talked about Alvin Kamara on my other channel, 4 Verts, as like a potential midseason trade guy, and you always think about, okay, good players, bad teams. Who could be on the move at the deadline? I think he's someone. Now, he signed an extension last year. He loves New Orleans. I think it would take a lot for him to want to go somewhere else. But unless he has a no-trade clause that I'm unaware of, the Saints could trade him if they got an offer they liked. Jonathan Taylor, I think, fits that bill. If it's going south in Indy, I could see the Colts pivoting off him, kind of Christian McCaffrey style a couple years ago with the Panthers. So, yeah, we know Ryan Poles has made some midseason trades as well. But, yeah, I think the Saints are a team that they could be pretty bad, so they could move off some of their old money. LaCora, over under $11 million for Za'Darius 1-year deal. Oh, I think under. If it costs that much, not only do I don't think the Bears would do it, I actually wouldn't even advise that. At this point in free agency, you just don't have to throw that type of money out. I think you're looking at, now maybe with incentives or something like that, I would guess base of $6 to $8 million. That would be my guess. If you're talking double digits, the Bears gave Ngakoue $10 million a couple years ago in August, and that didn't really pay off. I don't think Poles is going down that road again. I think he's looking for someone in the $5-7 million range. If he has to go a little further, maybe add a void year or something like that, he might be willing to do it. But I like Za'Darius Smith, but he's probably not going to start. He'll probably be a heavy rotation guy. I don't think you pay that a player like that $10, $11, $12 million bucks. If someone else wants to, hey, have at it. I also think if that market was out there, he probably would have signed by now. So we'll keep an eye on it. I think he's a name to monitor for the Bears moving forward, certainly over the next few weeks. But $11 million bucks, I'd have to take the under there. Appreciate all the questions. If you have more, you know where to find me on social media, at HGramNFL on Twitter and Instagram. DMs are wide open. If you want to give me a follow and ask me your questions over there, you can do so. I'll try to get back to you guys in a quick manner. All righty, what are the people saying? Lacora says Lions 11-6, Bears 10-7, Packers 10-7, Vikings 9-8. All four above 500. Not impossible. I think it's going to be a good division. Rafa says Bears 1. That'd be awesome. Lions 2, Vikings 3, Packers 4. Sign me up.
Yeah.
DC, Vikings, Bears, Packers, Lions. Lacora says, please, I'm sorry. I don't know. What are you sorry about, Lacora? What are you sorry about? All right, we got one more segment here. Just got a text.
Need to hop off for a second? Or you
no,
good?
This is good. Let me double check, actually. 1 sec.
Take your time. Lions own no Super Bowl, says Erica. That is a fact. Cheesy Gordita says Bears going 7-9, and we all know it. Why do you got to think so negatively?
Well,
man?
you can't go 7-9.
Yeah, it's true.
17
it's also
games.
True. This is
Go
true.
7-9-1.
Yeah. Bears, Lions, Packers, Vikings from Ron. Erica says Bears, Vikings, Lions, Packers. There you go.
Oh, you're good, Lacora. I didn't realize that was true. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You don't need to be sorry. If based on the Ngakoue deal, that's probably a decent over-under. I just don't think they'll go that high again. They were able to pay Ngakoue that a few years ago because they weren't really sure they wanted to win, but everybody kind of knew they probably weren't going to be a contender, and so you had to overpay to get a guy like that. I don't think you have to overpay Za'Darius Smith.
No, you do not.
I don't think. I mean, I guess we'll see. But all right, let's get to our last segment. More O-line talk. Did the Bears finally fix their O-line? We'll talk about it next. Did the Chicago Bears finally fix this major issue this offseason? Something that's been plaguing them really for decades, if we're being completely honest. I'm going to answer that question here on today's show. My name is Harrison Graham, and you are watching Chicago Bears Now. And no, I'm not talking about head coach with Ben Johnson. No, I'm not talking about quarterback with Caleb Williams. And I'm not talking offensive coordinator either. These are certainly topics that have been issues for years as well. I'm talking about the offensive freaking line. Is the O-line finally fixed? Well, PFF thinks this is the fourth best unit heading into 2025, which I'm not there yet, but I do think there's a lot of reason for optimism given the financial and talent investment that Ryan Poles and the Bears have made into the offensive line this year. You look at just the last 3 years, well, starting with the Ryan Poles era. The Bears have been top 7 in sacks allowed. 58 in 2022, 50 in 2023, 68 last year. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of that is Caleb Williams and Justin Fields hold the ball longer than other quarterbacks. Certainly part of it. That no one's going to dispute that. But we'll actually get into some data that some of that is a little overblown, especially with Caleb last year. I'm not really going to revert back to Fields in 22 and 23. This is what confuses me, though, is a lot of PFF's data is anti-Bears O-line last year, but then they're like, oh, they were actually 8th in pass blocking last year and 15th in run blocking. My initial reaction to that is it was actually a better run blocking offensive line last year. DeAndre Swift did a poor job at times hitting the hole. And the pass blocking, while not always bad, certainly was not top 10. And PFF's own data disputes that. So I think that's kind of interesting, especially when it comes to the pass blocking grade. And obviously the Bears themselves, with the investments they've made this offseason, are telling you, yeah, the O-line wasn't good enough last year, hasn't been good enough in years. We're going to pay a lot of money to improve that unit. I don't think it's any coincidence that after hiring Ben Johnson, that happened, because Ben probably told Ryan, this unit stinks and we're going to improve it. Let's just look at last year at some of the individuals. My first thought when I look at this, by the way, and this is all data compiled by PFF, Larry Borom, I think we witnessed one of the worst seasons from an offensive lineman in recent memory. And Larry Borom had moments earlier on in his career, but as a part-time starter, he gave up 7 sacks in less than 250 snaps, pass blocking snaps. Do you know how bad that is? I mean, he was one of the worst offensive tackles in football last year. And even with that number, I think his pass block, this is where PFF confuses me, his pass blocking was still in like the 50s. It's like, no, that should have been like a 20. That's atrociously bad. Matt Pryor gave up 7. Now, he started most of the year, so not as egregious. Same with Darnell Wright at 6. I think 3 or 4 of those were in the first 5 or 6 games, so he got a lot better after that. Braxton Jones, 5, missed some time with the injury. Tevin Jenkins, 4, obviously missed a lot of time with the injuries as well. And then Coleman Shelton gave up 3 on his 743 pass block snaps. So between those 6 guys, quick math, 25, 29, 32 sacks allowed, and certainly other offensive linemen played as well. If you look at the whole picture, 68 sacks allowed, and everybody's like, Matt Hasselbeck goes on the herd. Oh, those are majority Caleb Williams, and it's a bit subjective. Some of it is your film work guessing. PFF doesn't know the exact assignment for every player on every play, so it's hard to give an exact number. But based on their data collection, they attributed 17 of the 68 snaps to Caleb. Still too high of a number. 17's too many. Ideally, you cut that in half this year. But that's still giving up 51 sacks by the offensive line. That would be most in the NFL by a wide margin still. So that is where PFF loses me sometimes, and I think they do a good job. There's some subjectivity to it, especially with offensive line play. But I don't know how you could possibly say that this is the 8th best pass-blocking offensive line last year, yet they gave up the most sacks in the league. How is that even remotely a possibility? But we'll move on from that part of it. I wanted to kind of just outline the data from last year. And coming up next, we'll take a look at, is this fixed? Have they fixed this problem with the investments they have made this offseason? Because there's a lot of optimism, a lot of hope. PFF themselves thinks it's the 4th best unit on paper heading into this year. But first, I want to tell you guys about this awesome deal alert. Chatsports.com/Bears hoodie. You can get that short sleeve hoodie for just $33. It used to be $55. Now it's $33. 40% off with training camp around the corner. You could be rocking this. You can rock it in the early part of the season before it gets too cold. Hell, you could go long sleeves underneath and then throw this on top even when it does get cold. It's just an awesome looking short sleeve hoodie as well. Check it out. 40% off, just $33. Chatsports.com/Bears hoodie. Click and shop today. That link is in the comments and description of this video. Okay, let's break down the O-line upgrades and why I think individually and collectively these should be just better on paper overall. We've discussed at length the interior position by position. Left guard last year was a combination of Tevin Jenkins and backups because he missed a lot of time with injuries. You go from that to Joe Thuney, and I've said it. I like Tevin Jenkins. Nice player when healthy. Even if he played every single snap, Joe Thuney's a notable upgrade. Coleman Shelton to Drew Dalman. Coleman Shelton's a French starter. He's actually a backup this year in LA. Drew Dalman, at his worst, is a top half of the league center. Most would say he's top 8, top 10. Nate Davis, Matt Pryor. Matt Pryor played admirably last year as a backup fill-in guy because Nate Davis was a disaster. He's probably going to be a backup in Philly this year. You bring in Jonah Jackson, who had a weird year last year. We'll talk more about him in a minute. But if he's healthy, should at least be better than what you had at that spot a year ago. But let's talk about the prize, the huge addition, and that, of course, is Joe Thuney. Speaking of the data, he has given up, since his first 2 years in the league, he gave up 9 sacks his first 2 years in New England. Since then, he has given up just 7 sacks since 2018. 7 sacks in, what is that, 7 or 8 years? Right there, almost 5,000 pass block snaps. He's been beaten 7 times for sacks. Now, he's obviously been beaten on other reps, I'm sure, but 7 sacks in almost 5,000 reps, Larry Borum gave up 7 sacks in less than 250 snaps. Just to kind of put that into perspective there. I don't think you can just even measure how big of a difference that is. Obviously, the resume speaks for itself. 4-time All-Pro, twice on the first team, twice on the second team. He's won 2 Super Bowls. He's blocked for, I don't know, the 2 best quarterbacks maybe ever for sure in this century, in Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. 2 different style of quarterbacks, by the way. I think that's important because obviously Mahomes' ability to extend plays, keep plays alive. So, blocking through the whistle, he'll have familiarity with that type of quarterback now that he's playing with Caleb Williams. The point is I don't think you can measure his impact, both as a player on the field, what he'll bring to that locker room. Whoever's playing left tackle, he should help that person out tremendously, the center as well. I think we're going to find out pretty quickly, like, wow, even we somehow undersold that addition because he is still that freaking good as a guard in this league. Jonah Jackson, is he going to bounce back this year? Because last year was just, I don't want to call it a fluke because he certainly has to take accountability, which he has, by the way. Things were never on track with the Rams. So they signed him to a pretty big contract. They really wanted to play him at center. He hadn't done much of that. He played a little bit of that earlier in his career at Detroit, but really his best games and seasons were at guard. He hurts his shoulder in July, missed a lot of training camp there, re-injured the shoulder in week 3 because he wanted to play through it, and got placed on short-term IR. Comes back week 10 after 1 game, gets benched because they tried him at center, and it was a mess. Then he plays in week 18 when they rested their starters. They played him at guard. He dominated against, I think it was Seattle. And then in the playoffs, he tore his meniscus. So just kind of a mess from start to finish. There's a lot going on for Jonah Jackson last season. I still think this is a good player. Clearly, Ben Johnson does as well. I can't remember the exact phrasing, but he said something along the lines of he's going to be a really good player for us. He's familiar with them, knows the scheme, knows the verbiage and all that stuff. So again, I don't need an all-pro there. I need better than Nate Davis and Matt Pryor. You give me that's a plus addition at right guard. And then you have a real center. Whether Drew Dalman's the 5th best center, the 9th, hell, even the 12th or 13th, you have a real NFL center for the first time since probably Olin Kreutz, and that was over 10 years ago. They pay Drew Dalman $14 million per year, the best center on the open market by a wide margin, and, call it overpay, whatever you want. I've been begging for the Bears to bring in a real center. No more Band-Aids, no more Coleman Sheltons, Lucas Patricks, all these guys who are not real answers. This guy is a real answer. He's a tremendous athlete and run blocker. You can get this guy in the move, outside zone run game, toss crack, all that stuff. He's going to be really effective. Thought he took a big step forward last year as a pass blocker. PFF lays that out for you right there as well. He's not elite as a pass blocker, but if he's average to above average with how good he is in the run game, and maybe most importantly, his ability at the line of scrimmage, because he is going to be able to set protections, identify blitzes, different things, things that they threw on Caleb's plate as a rookie last year, which was probably too much to do. Jaden Daniels wasn't asked to do that in Washington. Bo Nix wasn't asked to do that in Denver. From week 1, Shane Waldron is like, Caleb, call out protections. It's coming from an air raid college offense. That was probably an extreme ask a year ago. This guy's going to be able to do all of that for you. So you can't, kind of like with Joe Thuney and just his intangibles, you can't really measure that from a statistical standpoint, the ability to communicate, set protections, do all of that different stuff. And then that brings us to the left tackle spot. Is Ozzie Trapillo the left tackle? Is it Braxton Jones? Regardless, it's another addition, another investment made by the Chicago Bears. They rebuild the entire starting interior offensive line, and they add a player to the mix at left tackle in Ozzie Trapillo. And if you remember, Ben Johnson during OTAs was asked, what is the number one job of an offensive tackle? And he said the number one job of an offensive tackle is to pass protect. You need to be able to block their best pass rusher one-on-one. To me, that's the number one job. Everything we can get out of them in the run game is is gravy on top of it. We got to find out who the best and most consistent pass protector is. To me, in terms of at least a prospect profile, if you're comparing him and Kron Amagaji, who they drafted in the 3rd round last year, I'll leave Braxton out of it because he's been in the NFL for 3 years, and he's anywhere from serviceable to pretty good, depending on who you ask. Ozzie Trapillo profiles is a better pass pass protector than Karan Amagaji. Amagaji is a more powerful, kind of violent run blocker, in my opinion, not as light of feet. Trapillo is more of a technician. He played in a better conference. He graded out very well as a pass protector last year, kind of average to above average as a run blocker. But he is better in pass pro, which tells me if that checks out in practice, they're going to go in that direction between him and Amagaji. So then it probably comes down to, okay, if Braxton Jones is healthy and is practicing, do they like Ozzie Trapillo or Braxton Jones better at left tackle? To me, the good news is you know what Braxton Jones is if he's healthy, and that's a serviceable to solid left tackle who will probably play even better now that Joe Thuney is going to be next to him. But if Trapillo's an upgrade over him, and let's just say Trapillo's above average, nothing crazy, but above average as a rookie, then you're talking about a stud in Joe Thuney, a really good center in Drew Dalman, and I think a potential stud in Darnell Wright, who I thought the final 10 games or so last year played at a very high level. You might have 3 very high-end offensive linemen and 2 solid, 2 good ones at left tackle and right guard with Jonah Jackson there at right guard. You could see the vision of why PFF is like, yeah, it's 4th best unit. I think there's still a couple of what-ifs with who's going to be the left tackle, how well does he play, does Jonah Jackson bounce back? But regardless of all that, whether it's the 4th best, the 8th best, the 11th best, this group should be much better in 2025. Like, at absolute worst, this should be a top half of the league offensive line, but I really think shooting for top 10 is a reasonable expectation, at least by the middle of the season. Might take a few weeks to get under their belt, new offense, all that stuff, but the talent on paper is too good for this to not be a good unit. I think it's going to be good. And by the way, don't forget, they also hired Dan Roschon, longtime Sean Payton guy, offensive line coach with the Saints, who's a big believer in build inside out, hence all the interior offensive line upgrades. 30-plus years of experience coaching, both in the college and NFL level, 10 years with the Saints, and that was like during good years with the Saints. That's a real offensive line coach. That's not what they've had over the last several years. So you add all these ingredients up, it's at least going to be good. Can it be great? Can this be a great offensive line? Time will certainly tell. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Chicago Bears Now. Appreciate everybody who made it to the end of the episode. That makes you a real one. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys soon here on Bears Now by Chat Sports. All righty. Appreciate everybody hanging out. James Joseph is back. Colin, may have to mute this guy again.
Oh, wait, is this the same guy from last week?
Is that, what was his name?
Oh, yeah, the freaking...
Anatomy or whatever? Was that his name?
Oh, look, whoops. Whoops.
Oh, man. James Joseph.
I don't got time for this dude.
All right. Appreciate everybody for hanging out. We don't have any more super chats or anything, do we?
No. You guys are awesome today. By the way, before we hop off here, just want to say appreciate all the love and everything from the video that went over the weekend that I was a part of. Shout out to you guys, man.
Yeah, that was well received. Good watch time on that one. So thanks to everybody who checked that one out. If Colin has any more ideas, we can run another one of those in the next few weeks. By the way, I haven't timestamped yet, but I've started slowly to put together my best crash outs from over the years. So Casey, who's new here, he's shadowing Colin today behind the production desk. We are going to do a video because someone asked for it, and why not? Basically, my 10 biggest crash outs on this show since I've started it. So there's been a lot of them. Colin can attest. Just doing one season of this so far.
Yeah.
It's been, a handful already that you've witnessed? 3 that stand out.
3 that stood out. But, yes, I think in general, Harry's not afraid to let his emotions show. I think is the best way to phrase that. So
it happens. It happens.
Hey,
but, if there's any that come to mind for you guys, DM me at HGram NFL and be like, oh, you can't leave this one out, because inevitably I'll probably forget 1 or 2, especially from like the Nagy days. It's crazy I've already covered 3 head coaches. Man.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't get to number 4 for a while. All right, we are going to sign off. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Closer and closer to training camp. We will be back live on the channel Thursday. So join us for that. We'll, of course, have videos tomorrow and Wednesday as well. Appreciate Cullen and Casey behind the scenes, and we'll see you guys soon. Bear down.